pickups video. Regardless of how many of how regularly I do these, it just seems like I'm constantly making I'm making pickups videos. It almost seems like the time moves quicker outside of moves quicker for me or for the person making the video, and than it does for the people who aren't making the video, who don't make videos or who watch, so to speak. No, that sounds like bollocks. But my point is, when you're subscribed to someone and they don't make a video for a long time, say like a month, it seems like a long time. But I reckon for that person, it doesn't feel like anywhere near as long as it does for the subscribers or the people who would watch. That's my point. So for me, it doesn't feel like it's been over probably about a month and a half since I've made a pickups video. It seems like I'm doing them like every week, but that's obviously not the case. But I seem to be buying more like last gen stuff, sort of PS3 and 360. Grey my beard. Especially in the last pickups video I did, and this one as well. There's quite a lot of, and Wii as well. I think if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you'd know that I vast majority of the stuff that I get will be things I've been able to get in the wild. But and that's generally how I work. That's why most of my stuff it's all sort of readily available. Most of my collections are all things you can get if you go out your front door. But, less of the really sort of hardcore collector stuff. Less of and less of the retro stuff. Although, having said that, I did actually get a bit of what we would all classify as proper retro out in the wild. It was sort of caught on video. But it was in a charity shop. If you watch my last out and about video, the last one, there's one point I go into a charity shop and there's some PS2 games on a low shelf, a few nothing worth picking up, but sort of a decent selection. And I put my hand on a pile, and at the bottom of that pile is some PS1 games that I actually ended up buying for the case, but I didn't show that. It turns out one of them, and you can actually see it clearly in the video, one of them's got a whacking great crack on the spine. But for some reason I bought it anyway. I obviously didn't notice. But no, that particular, that's where I got this bit of retro, because as I went to pay for the two PS1 games, there was a bit of retro in the little glass cabinet below the counter. So I thought, at once I'd paid for the PS1 games. I went, can I have a look at those, mate? Went, yeah. But I'll leave those relatively close to the end. But if you get bored, oh shit, you can't really see it. If you get bored, I've left a countdown on, so you can all just sort of stare at Rachel Riley over my shoulder. That's the only reason I watch Countdown. Yeah, right. Anyway, a mixture of things. A few interesting things from charity shops. This is mostly some stuff from Game. Weird. This is really strange for me. Really strange. Some from CX, which is becoming more and more common with my videos. A bit from eBay as well. But sort of the general places. It's just the mix is slightly changing. Right. Anyway, the first four all came from CX credit. I do a lot of that. I basically try and get as much credit as I can. If I see something, hang on. You see her? Oh, you can't see her. Damn. I'll leave it like that. Yeah, I try and it's just a good way to afford things. Making sure you've got a bit of a CX credit, and if you see something that you'd like to get, and you can get it, because It's just makes things more affordable for me. And these first four all came as a with CX credit. First one, Earth Defense Force. By stealth, I've actually sort of built up a little sort of Earth Defense Force collection. I've got Monster Attack on the PS2 and Global Defense Force. I don't have Global Defense Force Tactics because it looks a bit rubbish. I'm probably not going to bother with that one. But then I've got the Earth Defense Force 2017, and I found myself watching some Earth Defense Force videos. I think it's maybe because I think they had the 4.1. Was it 4.1? Yeah, it came out recently, didn't it? On the current gen consoles, and I thought it looked really good. And there was some more Earth Defense Force videos. Like Earth Defense Force. I can't remember what was it video. It was something .1. I think it was sort of like an adaptation or a sort of a reboot of this one slightly with extra content for current gen consoles. I had big mechs, which looks good. But no, I ended up looking up a load of videos of this, and I don't think the formula doesn't change, but I like the extra sort of have like the sort of the more highly armoured characters. You can sort of choose apart from the standard grunts, and you have characters that can essentially fly, but it's pretty much they've got like they jump from building to building. I've forgotten what they're called, the Wing Corps or something, but it's pretty much the same sort of standard Earth Defense Force gameplay, but it's always a lot of fun. I can't really fault it. It's just crazy. I like that sort of level of craziness, and yeah, and then I like the fact you have these new sort of character classes, but yeah. So I mean that would sort of been on my list for a while, and I'm working more for my list. I mean my PS3. I stopped the recording by accident. I was just getting so worked up. I went on my mouse. But yeah, I'm working more for my PS3 and 360 list. I suppose because there's more on them. They're more accessible than sort of some of the stuff on my sort of PS2, PS1 list. They're all essentially eBay purchases or nothing. Again, CEX credit, Folklore. It's a nice little, I suppose what they call a hidden gem. RPG is it by? Can't remember. The artwork looks similar to, or the artist, similar to the guy who does the Digital Devil Saga artwork. It's just some of the monster designs and sort of certain there's a similar element to sort of Shin Megami Tensei in this because you can use you can sort of almost recruit or whatever you call them the monsters that you attack you encounter, but it's got a bit of a slightly sort of grotesque gothic feel to it. This has a sort of like a sort of fairy tale gothic, so to speak, and you can use to attack. It's essentially an action RPG, or it's a in that sense it's a real time combat. Yeah, but you can use we'll get together. You can sort of capture the monsters and they can fight with you, and you can use the controller, the motion on the sort of the DualShock 3 or the 6-axis. You can use the motion controls on that and to attack with. I thought that's a nice little sort of idea, and this was like so many other things. Although I was aware of it before he said something, but Metal Jesus Rocks. It was on one of his hidden gems videos, but. No, that's not the reason I bought it. It just seems to. I do often get there first. It's not often. It's the first I hear of a game. Honest. I don't really need to say much more about this, do I? Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. I've got both of these on PS2, but I fancied playing them in HD. This is one of the essentials. It's one of the games that was first on the list or productions that was releases that was first on the list when I drew up when I got my PS3. So do I really need to justify why I've got this? I don't think so. And this game, I think this game is really good. It's really interesting, really unique, really creative. Why isn't more people talking about it? I know Pete on a retro tip mentioned it. He bought it. The thing is, it's dirt cheap. There's so many in my local branches of CEX. The price has gone down as well. It did go up to eight quid at one point. It's gone down to 6, and now last time I saw it was down at 5 quid. And there's shelves full. I don't really understand it. I mean, why are people? Is it easy to? Maybe it's easy to complete, easy to beat. I don't know. But it's interesting and creative, and you don't often get new games that have that level of sort of creativity. You know. But this is one of them, and I mean, you don't really have much of an excuse to sort of pass it up because it is a really good, highly recommended game. Not just from me as well. Like I said, I don't really understand. It's almost been consigned to the sort of the bargain bins because there's so many of them and it's so cheap that they obviously can't get rid of them. Well, that's how it appears to be. But give it a go. If you've got a PS3, give it a punt. Can you see her? No, not in. Oh, damn, too dark. Yeah, right. Game. This was just a random purchase, actually. It's not rare that I go into game and make a random purchase, but this was it. It was like they always have their offers. They have their sort of whatever. They're never particularly well priced, but I saw a game that was well priced. It was a 3 for 2 offer they're doing at the moment. It's 3 for 2, and it was a release that I'd had my eye on for a long time. It was a compilation, and there's one particular game in this compilation I wanted to play. It's the Trials HD Limbo Explosion Man compilation. I forgot what you call it. It says Xbox Live Hits Collection on this, but that's not what this is. That's something else. I really wanted to play Limbo, and I've been wanting to play Limbo since it was released. I thought, no, that looks right up my street. That looks great. I love that, that sort of art style. And so I've been wanting to play this for a long time. Keeping an eye out for it since I've had my 360, which is a few years now. But been close to buying it on a few occasions, but for some reason, whatever reason, I don't know why, not. And on this occasion, actually, there was one occasion about last month. I went to buy it, but they couldn't find it. It seems to happen a lot recently. But yeah, on this occasion, they had it, and it was like a 3 for 2. And they had, I thought, that was it. They had a copy of the. I've got this of it as well, Alan Wake. So, as the third choice, third game, they had a copy of there's a Tomb Raider reboot, but it's a game I wanted to play, but I wanted to get the Game of the Year edition, but where that game's concerned, all of the extra content only comes downloadable. So for me, that's only makes it viable as a PS3 purchase, because I can't be paying money to use Xbox Live. So it's just me. It's PS3 or nothing with me. So and obviously I'm not going to be able to get it second hand. So I went into Game and I was looking for a sort of a third choice, and they had I had a copy of it was the Tomb Raider Survival Edition. So I thought, I thought to myself, I'm not necessarily going to be able to get the Game of the Year edition anytime soon, and if I do ever. So I thought this Survival Edition would be a nice sort of a compromise. And what it came in a box, this sort of sturdy box, cardboard box that opens up like that, like a book, and it has all these extra weird bits in it. It's supposed to have, I think it was a book, a map, this weird little tool roll thing, and something else, a few other things. And, I thought, it's sort of worth having, and it was quite cheap. It was only $5.99. I thought that was a decent price. And that's pretty much what sealed the deal for these other two that I was going to go for it, because it only came to about £10, and I thought that was a decent outlay. But I was being served by the manager in my local branch, and there's a couple of decent people in that my local branch. There's one guy who used to work in Game Station. He's a sort of decent bloke, but the manager in now, he's just really miserable. I've dealt with him a few times. He's just a properly miserable bastard. And he went to the drawer. They keep all their stuff in the drawer, and he got out. He looked for it. He rifled through, and he looked for this or the Tomb Raider. He found it, and like out of the corner of my eye, I could see. I wasn't sure that all of the extras were with it, but because he's such a miserable git, I found myself sort of not wanting to change my mind. I don't know. I bottled it. I said, normally, if this was CEX, I'd say, sorry, has that got these extras in it? And they go, no. And I go, sorry, I've changed my mind. But for some reason, on this occasion, I didn't. I went with it. And I checked afterwards, and it didn't have all the extras. The little label on the back said Tomb Raider Survival Edition. The only extra I got was the crappy little plastic tool roll. It looks like something you'd get in a cracker that would have like screwdrivers in it. You ever get those? Those little screwdrivers with the replaceable bits that you can swap over. And that's essentially what it was. So as far as game is concerned, the Survival Edition, for me, was the box plus this crappy little tool roll. That didn't really make sense to me. I thought, I don't really want this sort of half complete copy of this game. Because I've got it because it's got the extras in it, and it sort of set it aside, sort of set it apart from the standard version. So I didn't really want it. So I went back the next day, and he wasn't there. And I just asked them if they had the extras lying around. And they said no. And I sort of just questioned why it was the same price. And it was the guy I sort of used to work in Game Station, and he pretty much said, well, it's sort of listed as the Survival Edition, but because we can't guarantee the extra content is going to be there, we have it as the same price as the standard version. So, which is slightly annoying, but I understand. Whereas if this was CEX, they wouldn't list it as they would list it as the standard edition. They wouldn't necessarily list it as the the Survival Edition if they couldn't guarantee had the extra content, because they don't do that with that DLC, do they? They just list. They can't guarantee that DLC is in a game, so they just list it as the standard version. And I just assumed it would be like this, but obviously it's not. So I took it back and got something else instead, which was I got this. It's one of those situations where you can't, you want to get a replacement, but you can't really find something you really want. This was pretty high up my list, and I had been looking at videos of it, and I thought it was interesting. It's an RPG. It sort of turns the table slightly, where you have these orcs as the main protagonists. And I thought, no, it looks interesting. And so I thought I'd get the PS3 version. I had to pay an extra £2. But it's sort of a combination of... it's not strictly an action RPG because you can stack moves. It's almost like a sort of bullet time with this with the big dude. You control him, and it's sort of he goes into berserk mode, and it's like bullet time. You can stack moves, and then you can chop and change between two characters. And this guy is more stealth, so you go through the game using chopping and changing between both characters. But it looks nice as well. I thought there was an interesting sort of a spin on the old sort of fantasy worlds, because normally you play as, I don't know, you don't play as orcs, do you? But no, I thought it was interesting. So that took the place of my my copy of Tomb Raider that didn't have all its bits, which is slightly annoying. Right, yeah, more game. It was my birthday recently. My sister gave me game vouchers, which I'm quite happy with actually, because I find my sister really difficult to buy presents for, and I think she finds me difficult to buy presents for. So if she, I'm quite happy if she buys me game vouchers because it gives me the opportunity to buy stuff that sort of pay their prices, so to speak, because they're normally about my price range. I have to hunt hard for well priced games in game. But no, I went into, I forget which one it was, Welling, quite way out for me, Welling, in Hertfordshire. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm getting distracted. Yeah, went into Welling and had my voucher with me, and this was one of the first things I saw. Pikmin 2. I've actually swapped over. It's got a reversible case. I don't know if you ever see it. It's the new play control, So I thought I'm definitely swapping that over. But no, I've got the obviously I've got the GameCube version. I mean, who hasn't? Excuse me. Always need to get it down below the the top line of the protective plastic sleeve, because you don't want it coming up, riding up and then being worn. I hate it when that happens. But no, love that cover. That's one of my favourite covers. That is. I've got the GameCube version, but with the new controls, it as far as I'm concerned, it presents a whole new game, because you control it in a totally different way, and it's got the sort of the motion controls and sort of the Wii pointer. So I think I would happily have both versions, because I don't often keep more than one version of a game, but I have to have a reason to have two, to have this sort of the alternates, and this is a perfect reason. And it's a great game. It's collectible, and $12.99. It's a little tip actually. If you ever see Pikmin 2 in game, it's a lot cheaper than anywhere else. For some reason, they always have Pikmin 2 around about this price, which is like I said, a lot cheaper than anywhere else. You'd probably pay about sort of £20 or maybe £10 more than that. So sort of 23 on eBay or CEX, sorry. But yeah, so that was a bit of a no-brainer, because I had this voucher. I didn't know how much my voucher was. It turns out it's £25, because I had to go to the counter. My sister didn't tell me, so that's happened before actually. I had to go to the counter, say, "Excuse me, I've got this voucher for my birthday, but I don't actually know how much it's for," and it makes me think that they're probably a bit suspicious, as if I've nicked it or something. Just found it and tried my luck to see if there's any credit on it. But no, they also had for sort of $2.99 one of these. It's a PS3 Blu-ray remote. Now, as far as my PS3 is concerned, I've pretty much been using it for Blu-rays more than playing on actually at the moment. But that'll change. But at the moment, I've watched more Blu-rays than played games on it. And I was getting a bit sick of using the pad, my pad, to control it, because it was just annoying. So I thought I'll get myself one of these. And I looked around. eBay's about £8, £10. I thought, I'm not sure I want to pay that. CEX is a £5. For some reason, in the past, I've been in a branch of. Actually, it was that. It was when I bought Tomb Raider. Those 3 games, that 3 for 2. They had one on the wall for $1.99, and I wanted one, but for some reason I saw it. I thought, oh, they got one of those, but chose not to ask the guy to get me it. I think it was because I was dealing with that same miserable bastard. I don't know. I didn't want to piss him off for some reason. But anyway, when I got this, I saw one of these. I thought, great, I love that. It was $2.99 for some reason this time. $2.99, it's fine, I don't mind, because I know that's cheap. It's cheaper than most other places, so yeah. Paid for all my stuff, left game, and on the way home, I thought I'll just check it. Opened it up. One of the springs was all corroded, leaking. It had a leaking battery. Oh, brilliant, well done. You don't check your stuff, do you? Don't check your stuff. Or in this particular branch, they didn't check their stuff, because there's no way you would have taken that, because it was obviously knacked. So shit. I had to take it back. I had to take it back the next day, and again dealt with the same miserable bastard. And he got one of his minions to go and look for to see if they had another version, so he didn't have to give me a refund. Because I wasn't going to go all the way back to the branch I got it from, so I took it back to my local branch, and they gave me a refund eventually. But so this one, Came in CEX. This was CEX credit. This was a fiver, which I don't mind paying. It's a lot nicer nick. I had to clean it up. I've cleaned it up with a bit of a rubbing alcohol, but it just sort of makes the whole process of watching Blu-rays on a PS3 a lot less of a ball ache. But yeah, still a bit of grime on there, but I think I've pretty much sort of decontaminated it. And the battery compartment, I don't leave batteries in there generally. Battery compartment's very clean. I have learnt recently actually that if you use it sounds like bullshit, I don't know, but if you use a Duracell battery, something about sort of the mix or the acid or whatever doesn't corrode things. If they leak, they don't corrode. And as far as my own experience of things like that, I can pretty much agree with that, because my old Game Boy Color had Duracell batteries in it, and they leaked, old ones, they leaked and all over the place. But it still worked after that. I cleaned it up. It didn't really corrode anything. Cleaned it up and it still works fine. But whatever was in that other remote, everything was rusted. Or no, one of the springs in particular, but you could see it had gone underneath, and I couldn't be asked to open it up. But yeah, and so that wasn't all of with these two. Sorry, what would have been, anyway. Sorry, my cat's taken to. He nudges the door when he wants to go out or he wants attention. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, they they literally sort of like just push the door. And they've realised that if they do that, then I get up. If I'm in here, they know I'm in here. They push the door. It's almost like going, they're trying to get my attention because they want something. Generally, it's you go and like play games because they like playing games. But sometimes they want to be let out. But I still had some credit on my card, so I got this Tales of Zestiria. Still not opened it, but this was £17.99. This did go down to about £12 on Amazon, but it's gone back up to £17.99 again, and which I don't know. I had the credits, so I thought why not? And it was one of the games high up on my PS3 list. Like I said, I've mentioned in the past, there's so many identikit RPGs on the PS3. I don't know. They all tend to blend into one, and there's multiple Atelier games. I'm just not sure I can be asked. I think the Tales of games slightly more distinct, so I don't mind. I've got Tales of Graces and Symphonia, and now this, and the only two left are the two Tales of Zillia games. So I probably won't bother with the Atelier games, or maybe one or two. There's a few that have better reviews, but most of them are a bit. But those essentially that was all my what I got with my birthday voucher. Right, what's first? This was the one and only bit of what the fuck's that? Okay, Game Boy game. This is the one and only bit of retro. This was, as I said, this was in the counter when I paid for the two PS1 games, as I mentioned at the beginning. I had my camera in the back pocket, excuse me, and it was still running. So I actually had the audio, but I listened to it back, and you couldn't really make out what I was saying. But either way, I felt it was a bit too creepy for my liking, so I wasn't going to include it. But so you could have heard the conversation between me and the guy behind the counter, and it turns out he knows his stuff, because if you actually watch the video back, as I'm looking at the shelf of PS2 games, you can hear him talking to his colleague about video games. You can hear him talking about PS1 games and PS2 games and things. It's just, I don't know, strange. So he's obviously a fan. So when I asked him to see if I could have a look at, they had 4 Game Boy games. They were sort of piled up. I didn't really know how many there were, and he said, "Oh, there's 4." So they had, what else did they have? They had apart from this, they had prices were. They had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was $9.99, which I don't know, that could have been a good price, but I wasn't going to go with it. And they had Solar Striker, which is $4.99. And Super Mario Land was also $4.99. Competitive. I'm not going to be one of these arseholes who kick up a fuss because something they perceive something to be overpriced. I think I think as far as charity shop's concerned, they lose sight of the fact that people make impulse buys, and I think that's one of the reasons they don't really consider. But if I know something's well priced or competitively, then I don't mind. But the thing is, they have to remember that not many people do. So not many people will necessarily be prepared to pay higher than the standard charity shop prices. But if I know otherwise, I don't mind paying. And this one looked well priced. This was the fourth game. And I thought, what the hell is that? Because I knew the other three. And the thing is, they all came in a little bag. They had all their stuff. The only thing they didn't have was the box. So, which, and it's this. I thought, what the hell is that? It came in it's $3.99, by the way. It came in it's the little case, which I like. Is it that? I looked at it and I go, can I look at that, mate? And he went, yeah, sure. I think, what the hell is Hayankee Alien? Because you'll be able to see it better on the manual. Hayankee Alien. What the hell is that? Hayankee Alien. I couldn't even read it. Turns out that's an O. So it's Hyankyo. Hyankyo Alien. And it's Japanese, as in Hyankyo. It's a Japanese game. And turns out it's like a cross between Bomberman and Pac-Man. There's two versions of the game on this. There's actually sort of a more Game Boy version. There's a really ancient looking. It looks like sort of a pre-Atari 2600 game. It's all really blocky and sort of lots of stick men. Basically, the idea is you're this retainer for sort of a Japanese shogun or something, and your city or your world gets invaded by aliens, and you don't have any weapons. You've only got a spade. And you have to try and lure these attacking aliens into a hole. You dig a hole in front of them, and then you have to make sure they fall into the hole. You have to lure them into the hole, and then they're still not dead. So while they're in the hole, you have to fill the hole back in. Oh, what a brilliant idea! That's really funny, and it is quite funny in practice. You see all these aliens going in the hole, and you have to basically put mud on top of them. But it looks awful though. It looks ancient, and the other version looks sort of the newer version looks looks a bit more modern. But I thought it was interesting sort of a sounding game. Like I said, I had to look it up afterwards, and it looks like it was never available in the UK because there's not been any for sale. I was just looking if they'd sold, and they only seem to look. They look like they sell in the US or maybe on sort of continental Europe. But yeah, I thought it was weird. It was interesting, and it was a bit of genuine retro stuff. So, right, 3 more, 6 games, but 3 charity shop purchases. This was only 50p. I went into town. I wasn't really looking to buy anything. It's just my mum recently had a cataract operation. So she's been milking it, getting me to do her shopping. Oh, all right then. So I was just in town getting her some sort of general bits. And I thought, while I'm there, I might as well go have a look in a local charity shop. And I had this, didn't have a price on it. The two women behind the counter were in a good mood. I thought, excuse me, and I was polite. And I said, excuse me, this doesn't seem to have a price in it. And one of them goes, oh no, they haven't been priced yet. So the boss, she obviously seemed like the boss, she went, 50p? I went, you sure? Yeah. And she went, yeah. I went, okay, yeah, fine, 50p. So that's 50p. So, not really on my radar, but I don't really tend to pass up crash games. Maybe I might do on the PS2. But on any other system, I've given them a crack. And I think this was on the PS2. Was it on the 360 as well? I don't know. I'm sure it was on the PS2 at least. But, 50p. This is a bit of a weird one, in a charity shop. Look at this. It's lenticular cover that actually works. Look. A lot of the time don't work, but that's really interesting. It's actually, I think it's a press release, like a sort of a review version, or some sort of promo version, because that's essentially it's. The only thing is it's got a sleeve and it's like a blank case. and it's a promo version of Wipeout Fusion on the inside. I don't have Wipeout Fusion, I thought for 125. I don't really have many driving games on my PS2, so I thought, yeah, why not? And I like other Wipeout games. But I've since looked, and it's not the same as other promo versions of this game, because other ones have like 2 discs with, slightly more official looking, rather than just that blank promo edition sort of graphics on the disc. They actually have proper graphics, but I think it's really cool. But still, I'm not complaining for £1.25. But yeah, like I said, I don't have Wipeout Fusion, and I think that's interesting enough to warrant staying in my collection. I don't think they're particularly collectible or anything. And this is quite funny. In a charity shop last week, Animal Crossing, £2.50. So again, that's a good price. The woman behind I took it up to the counter. The woman goes, she was in a really sort of chatty mood, and she goes, "Oh, do you know what that is?" I went, "Yeah, I've never played it myself, but I do know what sort of entails." And we were having a bit of a conversation. She was talking about her granddaughters and about how and she goes to me, "Has it got violence in it?" No, it's not violent, no violence at all, no killing or anything. And she goes, "Oh, good, like this." And then she's going, "Oh yeah, I was reading a story to my daughter. Oh no, sorry, to my granddaughter, and it kept saying it was 6 times in one page. It kept talking about the devil, and eventually my granddaughter goes." What is a devil? And so the woman, she had to explain to her granddaughter what a devil was, and she's obviously, certain games and things and stories and books and whatever. Kids ask questions, and you have to explain to them. So she was quite interested to know what this was about, because it looked, like it was sort of kid friendly. And so eventually she goes to me, "So have you got a little daughter then?" I went, "Well, actually, it's for me." And I thought, oh, there's no pride in that whatsoever. She assumed it was for a little daughter. I did say, "Oh, I've got 2 nieces," as if that makes a difference. But she assumed it's for my daughter, but it's actually for me. But it's not like the classic kiddie games. It's not like Nintendogs or anything, or Hannah Montana or anything, is it? Or what is it? What's that one about the little girl who goes around the world? Can't remember her name, but anyway, yeah. So I did leave the shop with my tail between my legs, but yeah. So that's all the charity shop stuff. So that's not a little bad sort of charity shop selection, I don't think. Interesting. Finally, 3 eBay. No, actually, sorry, 2 eBay games and a purchase from an import. eBay purchase. This was probably. It's actually a bit of a bargain, I think. I don't think it's an expensive game, but it doesn't pop up too often on eBay. It's Bleach, the Third Phantom. I've got the 2 other Bleach games. They're both treasure releases. This isn't a treasure game, but I mean they're both one-on-one fighters. This is a tactical RPG. So you sort of get a vague idea from those screenshots. I think got the grid. Yeah, and. I went for a big stage a few years ago of watching Bleach. I do know a lot of the characters, and I still watch sort of a few clips now every now and again on YouTube. When I'm just sort of feel the need. And I read a bit of what this game's all about, and then it said create your own fight with all your favourite characters. And I thought, I knew Bleach, I knew the characters, and I thought, no, that appeals to me. That does. And I've looked at a bit of gameplay and it looks okay. I got it for £3, £2.20 plus 80p postage. I think you can't really complain. I think I can't remember when the auction ended. I think it ended on a Saturday night or something. I'd already put my bid in, but it no it. Sorry, I've got distracted. I was thinking, have I missed something from a purchase on eBay that I haven't included? But no, I'll get to that. So this was £2.20 plus 80p postage. So it's all in really nice nick, and it was a game I wanted to get, and it's not a common game, not an expensive game, but I mean £3 for a sort of tactical RPG is, I think, you'd be hard pressed to find any sort of tactical RPG cheaper than that. Maybe Future Tactics on the PS2 will cost you less than that, but generally you'll struggle. But yeah, like that's Ulquiorra, that's Grimjow, that's Ichigo. I think that is, I've forgotten his name. I think he's the one who ends up being banished and working in a shop. I think, I can't remember, I don't know her. But anyway, so I'm chuffed with that. Now this one is a weird one. An eBay purchase. This was just me sitting one night randomly, looking on the homepage. They have all your, essentially what they boil down to is that they show you a lot of suggestions based on your past searches and also your watch lists and your saved searches. And this one popped up, and I thought, why the hell is that hasn't that been snapped up? Because it was a 30-day auction, buy it now, for £10 or put in start a bid, but it was like a basic price of £10 with £2.70 postage, and so in total it would have been £12.70, which is what I ended up paying. And I thought, why has no one snapped that up? Because it was definitely quite a sought after game, probably because the seller didn't have any feedback at all. In fact, I've just left his feedback and I was the first person to leave feedback, so now he's got one. And it's this game, this is a bitch to get hold of. King of Fighters, the King of Fighters Ultimate Match 98, this is a stinker to get hold of. This came into the bracket of PS2 games I would really like, but probably would cost me too much to get, particularly the British version, because again, another game when you have like a full UK version, it creates, it's like they go for a premium purely because they're all in English, especially obviously in this country and maybe like Australia or New Zealand. But so this popped up and it was just flat like that. I had no idea, about the back or what version it was, and it was £10.20. I thought at that sort of £10 plus £2.70 postage. And I thought at that price, I can't really lose. I mean, I would happily pay that for one with an Italian version. I thought I might get an Italian version or a French version. I crossed my fingers for a UK version, and I think that was it. I paid quite late. I think it was just before I went to bed. I was up quite late. Paid just before I went to bed, and then I got a message from the seller the next day, going, "Thanks." Or was it? It was thanks. Not bad for a tenner. It said. Really sort of. I don't know if it was being sarky or jolly, but that was the price he asked for. Not bad for a tenner. I was like, okay, and it goes, I'll post it as soon as I get an opportunity. But yeah, and I think he said he posted it yesterday or the day before, turned up today, and can't really complain. It's sealed, £10, so £10 plus £2.70 postage. It's not a UK version; it's a French version, but it does have English on the back. It has English at the top and French there. And it's. I was hoping, I couldn't be sure. I was hoping that because it's got the sort of the British flag there and French there. That would mean that it had like a dual language manual. But according to that little thing there, it says Jeu en anglais, manuel en français. So, which means obviously game in French. So sort of game in English, manual in French. So I'll have to suck it up. Essentially, it's just it's got the manual, but the English version, like I said, the English version would go for premium. So I can't be asked. I think I'm getting old and I don't care so much anymore. There's certain games like Michigan, Report from Hell, which a couple of years ago it would have been the English version and nothing. But now I'm quite happy to get a sort of like a continental European version. So the games are in English generally. I think I mean, obviously this is English, and how really much do you need the manual for a one-on-one fighter anyway? And if it's got the move list in it, that'll all be in arrows and symbols and things anyway, wouldn't it? So I can just read it. That sort of transcends language, doesn't it? Really, or into country language or whatever. What am I talking about? I don't know. But all I know is that if this had gone to auction and it had been an English version, it would have gone a lot more. Probably 40 quid at least, I reckon. 35, 40 quid for a sealed English version. It would have been a lot more. But so it's a compromise I'm happy to make. Last one, apologies for this. In my head before I started, I was thinking, just this one. On this occasion, this is going to be a quick one. But when it finally does happen, I'll make a nice quick pickups video that's quicker than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to punch the air and do a little dance. I actually tweeted. A few weeks ago now. This was sort of a birth. Actually, I bought this before my birthday. I ordered it before my birthday because this is pretty much I couldn't really pass it up. PSP RPG that probably at the time, I don't know really at the time I knew it as the most expensive PSP RPG, difficult to get hold of. You'd pay a premium. As far as I can tell, it's quite quite run of the mill, but it's nothing to. It doesn't really stray far from the RPG formula. But for whatever reason, you can't get it in the UK. So there's a premium. There's a premium on sort of copies available, and some crazy bastard on eBay has recently bought a brand new one for probably 95 quid with postage on top, which is crazy. They look like they go for between 55 and 60 generally, or in between there. I don't know. In between sort of 60. Actually, there was one person who bought one recently on eBay. The last one to sell in the UK. It was obviously just a one-off price for 10 quid. So then whoever got there first was going to have it. Would have snapped it up like that. I would have done it. But this one was a re-release. I got notification from Video Games Plus, the Canadian website. They always have a good selection. Video Games Plus. It was basically a notification that there'd been a re-release, a reprint of this particular game. I thought, right, I'm snapping that up. And they had a special offer at the time. It was pre-order, by the way. It was pre-order for a release on the 2nd of May. And at the time, they also had up to the end of April free postage, like worldwide postage. So it wasn't really something I could pass up. And it was $50 Canadian, which at the time worked out at about £27.44, which compared to 100 quid is a no-brainer. And if you know PSP, you might know it's called Hexyz Force. I didn't know this, but I subscribe to H.C. Bailey, the Let's Player. He Let's Plays RPGs, and he Let's Played Hexyz Force. And I looked it up and thought, that's a game I'd like to play. I looked up how much it would cost to buy, and immediately put me off because the price was extortionate. But then when there was a re-release on Video Games Plus, I thought, right, now's my opportunity, and I've got a copy. So it's still sealed, as you can see. It's not like an official. It hasn't got like an official band or anything, like a tear strip. And then it looks like just a quite run-of-the-mill but interesting RPG, well-made RPG. Atlas. So that's probably why it goes for premium, because people, rightly or wrongly, go crazy for Atlas stuff if it's got that Atlas brand on it. But yeah, it's still got them, by the way. There's no longer free postage, but I think generally you'll only pay about £4.50 for postage anyway from Canada to the UK. So it's probably about £27.44 now. From like exchange rate, considering the exchange rates, you're probably going to pay just over 30 quid, probably about 31.50, 32 for a copy of this, which is still definitely worth it if you check out how much they go for otherwise on eBay, which is not worth, it's crazy. So I don't know why some lunatic would pay up to 100 quid for one of these, but they did. Weirdos. But anyway, that's probably my biggest purchase of recent. Since last time. Right, I'm going to let it go now because I know I was so hopeful this was going to be a little bit quicker, but okay, I'll just give up. It's that weird sort of like gimpy dog people. Craziness. I'll leave you with that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.